On behalf of Gokhale Institute of Public Affairs, we extend to you all a cordial welcome to this celebration of 154th birth year of Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Ours is a 70-year-old institution founded by Padma Bhushan Dr. D.V. Gundappa, Doyen of Literature and eminent publicist who was active in public life for over 7 decades. He also rendered service as municipal councillor, member of the Executive Council of the University, and member of Legislative Council for long years. His rich writings continue to enjoy immense popularity even 4.5 decades after his demise in 1975. Gopal Krishna Gokhale was born on 9th May 1866 and died on 19th February 1915. As our name itself suggests, we belong to the liberal lineage of Mahadev Govind Ranade, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, and V.S. Srinivasa Shastri. V.S. Srinivasa Shastri, in fact, actively provided guidance in shaping this institute's activities in the early days. Other personages who evinced keen and consistent interest in our pursuits included Sir M. Vishveshwaraya, Sri C. Rajagopalachari, and others. There is hardly need to explain why our founder Dr. D.V. Gundappa named this institution after Gokhale. Having been inspired by Dadabhai Naoroji and others, D.V. Gundappa regarded public work as a tapasya, undergirded by conscientious study and objectivity, impartiality, and a constructive approach. These qualities were displayed by Gokhale in an extraordinary measure in his work in various capacities, such as Member of Imperial Council, Chairman of Pune Municipality, evidence before various royal commissions, and so on. It is well known that Mahatma Gandhi considered Gokhale his political guru. The portrait of Gokhale you are seeing before you was unveiled by Mahatma Gandhi at the condolence meeting organized by D.V. Gundappa at Bengaluru on 8th May 1915, soon after Gokhale's demise. The liberal legacy of Gopal Krishna Gokhale is worth cherishing in these days marked by both physical and intellectual pollution. Gokhale was respected equally by Indians and the British because of his integrity, objectivity, and graciousness. Gokhale played no small part in guiding and shaping Gandhi's approach to public life. Despite some fundamental differences between the two, as for instance in regard to separate electorates, their mutual respect remained unshaken. About Gokhale's self-effacing nature, recalling one instance should suffice for the present. Gokhale was principal of the Ferguson College, Pune. After his disciple R.P. Paranjape completed advanced studies in England, becoming a senior wrangler, and returned, Gokhale voluntarily stepped down, handing over the principalship to Dr. Paranjape. It is such an exemplar that we are remembering today. Over the years, numerous eminent people have addressed meetings from this platform, including Nani Palkiwala, Jaiprakash Narayan, Meenu Masani, R. Venkatraman, T.N. Sheshan, Soli Sorabji, and many others. We are fortunate to have amidst us today Mr. Sajana Poovayya to deliver this year's Gokhale birthday lecture. Mr. Sajana Poovayya graduated as a gold medalist with a bachelor's degree in arts and an honors degree in law from the National Law School of India University. He was a Chevening Scholar at the London School of Economics and Political Science, from where he obtained a master's degree in law. He has been a fellow of the Society of Advanced Legal Studies, London, and admitted as a solicitor of the Supreme Court of England and Wales. He has chaired the Karnataka State Council of the Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry, which is India's apex industry association. He has officiated as the India co-chair of the New York State Bar Association, honorary secretary of the India section of the International Commission of Jurists, and vice president of the Society of Indian Law Firms. Apart from a vibrant constitutional and commercial law practice, Mr. Sajana Poovayya also devotes considerable time to represent social and environmental causes of public interest in the Supreme Court of India and in high courts across the country. Mr. Sajana Poovayya is a designated senior advocate with extensive constitutional, corporate and commercial law practice in the Supreme Court of India and in various high courts. Prior to his designation, he was the managing partner of Poovayya On Company, a full-service law firm with offices in Bengaluru, Chennai, Mumbai and Delhi. For a period, he officiated as the Additional Advocate General for the state of Karnataka and was one of the youngest to occupy that position. He was designated Senior Advocate akin to Queen's Counsel by the full court of the Karnataka High Court. In 2016, LexisNexis had listed Mr. Sajana Poovayya as one among the 100 legal luminaries of India. He has been voted by Law Asia and Chamber and Partners as one of Asia's leading attorneys. Sir, we are all very proud of you. I must mention one other dimension of Mr. Sajana Poovayya's personality. He has earned distinction as a column writer too. All of you would doubtless be familiar with Mr. Poovayya's frequent column in Vijayavani, the #1 Kannada daily. His articles on constitutional, legal and political science issues are erudite but lucid and highly educative. It is good of Mr. Poovayya to take time out from his busy practice and contribute to public awareness through his informed analysis of current issues. I extend a hearty welcome to Mr. Poovayya. For this year's Gokhale birthday lecture, Mr. Sajana Poovayya has chosen the subject Information Technology and Good Governance. There is hardly any need to mention the special relevance of the topic in today's scenario. Unlike 4 decades ago, information technology has now become the engine driving all our fields of life and is naturally now central to governance at all levels. We eagerly look forward to hearing Mr. Poovayya's perspective on the lay of the land. I request Mr. Sajana Poovayya to deliver the address.
Thank you very much, sir, for the very, very kind words of appreciation and welcome. I have much to learn in life. I think your life's experience transcends much more than I have ever seen. And I do hope that blessings of people like you will get me to greater thresholds as we go along. ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಭಾನುವಾರ ಸಂಜೆ ತಮ್ಮ ಬೇರೆ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಗಳನ್ನು ಬದಿಗಿಟ್ಟು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ, ನನ್ನ ಮಾತನ್ನು ಕೇಳಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ನೀವು ಒಂದು ಅರ್ಧ ಮುಕ್ಕಾಲು ಗಂಟೆ ಅಥವಾ 1 ತಾಸು ಕೊಡೋದು ಅಂದರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕವಾಗಿ ನನ್ನ ವಂದನೆಗಳನ್ನು ಸಲ್ಲಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. The fact that there are so many people who are here on a Sunday evening to listen to a topic of this nature itself indicates that information technology and lack of good governance permeates all aspects of our life. Technology may not be good or bad, but the manner in which it is used can make it a good or a bad tool. And unfortunately for us, when it comes to governance, it is either not used, or if it is used badly for possibly the wrong result. And therefore, when I was asked, and I really don't know why you asked somebody like me, who's possibly a non-achiever amongst the galaxy of luminaries who have spoken at this institute, to even address a gathering to deliver the Gokhale address. But when I did hear that I would be invited, I grabbed that opportunity. For me, it was actually a great honor to stand here and speak to the audience on this platform, because some of my most prominent influencers in my life have been people who are associated with the Gokhale Institute of Public Affairs, the preeminent among them being former Chief Justice of India, Justice E.S. Venkatramaya, who was my teacher at the National Law School, at whose feet I learned the law for many years. His personality touched me more than the law that he taught me. And I think, therefore, truly, at least my generation, if not the present and the future, at least my generation was lucky to still have gurus who actually transformed your life and touched your lives in positive manners and not just taught you something in terms of one or the other discipline. And therefore, I began to think, what should I speak about? That I would have about an hour and I should speak on something of relevance from a contemporary perspective. I had seen that eminent luminaries in various verticals in their own right had spoken to you on philosophy, on political science, on the root of what good governance should be, as to why it should be tapasya. But I found that nobody had really spoken at this institute on the confluence between information technology on the one hand and governance as a perspective on the other. And therefore I thought I should really speak on that aspect. And I did prepare a 25-page note. But then towards the end of that note, I went back and read the whole of it. And then I realized that that's not really something I should be doing. If I have to put this 25-page note, I'd rather publish it in Vijayavani for people to read. So I thought I should really then, therefore, change from the scenario of having a written speech that I will come and present to you in a particular format and make it a monologue. Or rather, I thought, what I should do is take a few life's examples and a few illustrations that we see as we speak, and then interplay it with technology, and then indicate to you what is that we are truly losing from a perspective of good governance in our country, in our state, in our city, and possibly in our backyards. So let me go back a few decades and then just look at how life has changed. I still belong to that generation where if we had to make a phone call, we had to land up possibly at the post office, or if some of us were lucky in our towns to have a telephone. I still remember that my grandfather's telephone number was number 7. And that was the last telephone in the town. And therefore you had to pick it up, and that somebody on the other end, the operator would ask you number please, and you would say, can you connect me to number 3? And then he would tell you back, saying, no, number 3 is speaking to somebody else, which meant he was overhearing that conversation. And then he would say, I will tell you when number 3 finishes. So you would overhear the entire conversation between number 3 and number 4, and then tell you, okay, number 7, you can speak to number 3, so that he listens to your conversation too. And I realized why the telephone operator's job was the most important job in my town, because he was invited for every wedding, he was invited for every naming ceremony, he was invited for every ceremony post-death. He was the most important man. And that is because that man had information about everybody in town in terms of what conversations went on. Who spoke to whom, who slept with whom, who did not sleep with whom. All of it was known to the telephone exchange. And that got me thinking, saying that this is the power of information. Nobody really realized that that was the power of information. We were involved at a point of time at the confluence of technology in all walks of life at all points of time in our history. When we talk of technology, let's not really kid ourselves to saying, oh, teleportation from point A to point B, as we see in science fiction movies, is only technology. When the light bulb was invented, it was technology. The fact that kerosene lamps went away and by the flick of a button you would have lights in your house was technology. People dealt with that technology. People were mesmerized by that technology. But yes, when we were born, light bulbs were a matter of regular scenario, and if really did not have a light bulb, it was a scenario of lack of technology. Same with when we had steam engines, that was technology. Therefore, we had a boiler which would boil, generate steam and run the engine. Now, prior to the boilers being invented, law really stood behind. And they say, of course, I'm being politically incorrect. They traditionally say that law is a very devoted Hindu wife and technology is the husband. So I asked why. They said that is because law always is 7 steps behind technology, following technology. And therefore, from that perspective, that is true. When, let's say, the boiler was invented and a steam engine was invented, law followed course, bringing the Boilers Act, saying that, okay, now if you have a boiler, you need to take a license. When electricity was invented and electricity was used and harnessed, etc., and the light bulb came up and every home was electrified, then came the Electricity Act. Therefore, law really followed technology over a period of time. Technology was the disruptor, or technology was the innovator, and law went on filling the gap in terms of dealing with technology in a particular manner. When telephones came in, the Wireless Telegraphy Act came in. The Wireless Telegraphy Act only followed telegraphy and wireless telegraphy, which was invented, and therefore messages could be sent without the wire. So therefore, same with information technology. Information technology came in, it disrupted our lives, it transformed our lives in some context, and then came the Information Technology Act. Law really followed technology over a period of time. Law really did not usher in innovativeness. Law really did not usher in the technological scenario as we see it today. Now, if that is what it is, then what is the interplay between technology on the one hand, law on the other, and consequently the impact on our lives? I believe, in a very simplistic term, the impact on our lives is only on a scenario of governance. Our private life is one aspect and our public life is another aspect. And I will deal with both of these when it comes to technology and good governance. For a minute, let's keep our private lives apart and then just look at our public lives. Our interaction with society, our interaction with fellow beings, our interaction with the service providers, so to speak, or at least they were expected to be service provider, that is the people who govern. Our interaction with the local municipality, our interaction with the ward, with the corporator, with the MLA, with the Prime Minister, with the Chief Minister, etc. These are aspects of our public life. Now, why does law come in? Law comes in because they indicate that these are the thresholds with which people should work. These are the thresholds with which governance must be meted out. These are your rights. These are your duties. Consequently, there will be a system or ecosystem of governance in which we can live. Therefore, law is that instrument which brings in this ecosystem of governance. We are a democratic republic. We have a municipal body. We have 3 tiers of governance. We have local self-government, etc., etc., etc. Now, there is law which brings in governance. And now there is technology which is actually disrupting the whole way work is undertaken in our society. Now, if that disruption is occurring and we still need good governance, the only interface between this disruptive technology and good governance, so to speak, or at least the aim of good governance, is the law which actually brings it together. And therefore, I believe that lawyers in society today possibly have more role to play in terms of ushering in good governance in society than lawyers have ever before had a role to play. We have had lawyers in politics. We have had, of course, brilliant lawyers getting onto public life. Some of the founding fathers of this country have been brilliant lawyers. But their domain of influence have been on the philosophical side of it as to what ought to be this country, what ought to be the system of governance, what ought to be the levels of purity in public life. But today we have a scenario where what ought to be is not the question. What is today and the present time, that is the power of here and now, what is occurring today is of relevance, because what happens today becomes archaic tomorrow. Just take the black telephone example. The telephone, which actually was the best mode of communication and the fastest mode of communication, if somebody was born or some child is born or somebody died, it was a lightning call that would be made to communicate to people. And that's hardly lightning. You have to wait for 8 hours before a call could be connected. and then you would have a PP call where the lightning call is connected and that particular person is not available and there goes the lightning. Therefore, from that to today, where you are continuously connected to all parts of the world, I am sure your children, your brothers, your sisters, your nephews, nieces, they are all over the world. And today it's a WhatsApp video call or a FaceTime conversation or a Skype conversation with anybody that, if your daughter is cooking something, in her Baltimore residence, she would still want to Skype or do a FaceTime with her mother here saying, this is what I'm doing. There is real-time connectivity across the world. Now, have we ever wondered what that real-time connectivity is actually doing to our lives? What is it actually doing to the system of governance that we have? Let me be candid. I have never looked at it from that perspective because we possibly don't. We are so caught up with the mundane aspects of our existence in this country. And I mean it when I say existence. It is nothing really beyond existence. That we are actually looking at that every day of existence and thriving in this society, that we don't look at the overall impact of what technology does to us. I will take a few examples and then possibly explain what I believe is the impact. Internet communication and internet technology has actually gone multifold in terms of its development. 4 decades ago, in the 80s, the entire storage capacity in the world of storing electronic data in the world, I'm not talking of India, not talking of Bangalore, was about 0.5 terabyte of storage. That is about 500 or 512 gigabytes of storage. That was the electronic data available and stored the world over in the 1980s. Today, that one iPhone 10, which most people now land up buying, has 512 gigabytes of data storage capacity. So that one phone which you are holding today is possibly holding as much information as the entire world held in electronic format 4 decades ago. Now just look at the impact that this one telephone can do. If assuming you gave it a human form and that human form was the recipient of all this knowledge, it would have actually been the true enlightened human form with all knowledge of the world in it. Truly so, because you have the entire information in your hand, palm. Come back again in this 4 decades. At a point of time 4 decades ago, not even 4 decades ago, I'm talking of 3 decades ago, in the 1990s, the entire internet connectivity in the world and the number of participants on the internet was 23 lakh people. Early 90s is what I'm talking. Some of you may remember in the mid-90s in India, or possibly between the early and mid-90s, I'm talking of 93, 94, in India you had something called the TCP/IP accounts. I don't know how many of you are aware of the TCP/IP account. I see a gentleman raising your hand, where you would connect on to your phone, your modem, and then you will have this very wishy-washy tone that you would ring, and when you hear that tone, you know that you are connected, and then you can send some little bit of, some bits of email here and there, and that's all it is. All that you could send a text and receive a text. Now that was the internet connectivity that we had. So I'm talking of the early 90s, the 1990s itself. The number of people connected on the internet and conversing on the internet or sharing information on the internet was 23 lakh people. Today, in the world, they believe that there are 3 billion active users. That is 300 crore people actively using the internet as we speak. I am not talking of those users who log on to the internet possibly from my little hometown beyond Virajpet in Coorg when there is power, and then you look at something and disconnect from the internet. I am talking of you and me whose phones are actively on the internet because we have data packets on our phone, and we are actually, from a perspective, not getting information from the internet. We believe we are actually getting information from the internet. And please look at it from that perspective. Please change your mind in terms of how you look at the internet. All of us believe that the internet is a repository of the information, and because we have this phone, because we have Google, because we have Facebook, we can get information. Today, information is in our fingertips. That's what everybody talks about. Oh, you see, when you are a law student, you have to go up and look at the ready reckoners and research for 30 hours to find a point. But now these younger lawyers, they have it on their fingertip. All that you do, punch, and Google will tell you what the answer is. That is not what it is. On the contrary, you who is connected to the internet is constantly uploading information onto the internet. You are the information generator. Now, what is this information? It is not information about your political philosophy of whether A should be in power or B should be in power. That's not what it is. The information that you are putting onto the internet is that your phone is constantly connected. You have left home at so and so time. You have come here at so and so time. That is tracked. Or you may not have come here. You might have told somebody at home that you are coming to the Gokhale Institute of Public Affairs but gone elsewhere. And that is tracked. And what you have done elsewhere is tracked. Who did you speak to in the process is tracked. Now, if you have spoken to me in the process of coming here, not just that you have spoken to me today at this point of time, at this particular location is tracked, but it is also then connected and collated to every previous call that you have made to me. Because if you look at your phone, you get your call history. For the last 10 years, whatever calls you have made to Sajana Poovayya is there on your phone. So you are constantly being monitored. And that information of monitoring is constantly being uploaded onto some platform somewhere in the internet. And therefore, that is data. And therefore, when Reliance says that data is the new oil and therefore I am going to give you geo packages for 300 rupees, you have free internet and free data for the entire 3 months or 6 months or 9 months, they are not doing you a favor. They are simply giving you that data. They are giving you a data plan so that you are connected to the internet and your information that you actually pass on to the net is collated, and that data becomes most valuable for them. And this collection of data on the entire society, so to speak. In India today, they say there are close to about 93 crore telephones out of about 110 crore people. Gone are those days when you had to get an MP to sign and an MLA to stand in a queue to get a black telephone connection to your house. You know, if you are getting married and you want a telephone connection, all influence is brought in and then you get one telephone. Here is a scenario today, possibly, that very soon, the telephone percentage, that is penetration in this country, we are almost at 94% now. Very soon, they say that we will have 125% telephone penetration. That is, we will have more telephones operating in this country, which are smartphones, than the population of this country, which is a fact. Most of us have more than one telephone number. One is on the Rama account, one is on the Krishna account, one is to do good things, one is to do bad things, whatever it is. But please understand that good phone is also being profiled and data is collected. That so-called bad phone that you use also is being profiled and data is collected. But only that, the people who know you don't know that data as yet, and therefore they don't know that you are bad. Now that information collation from the entire society is what we call big data. And I'm sure you have read a lot about the newspaper saying, oh, there is big data analytics, and therefore, what do we do? Come back to governance and big data. This big data is very crucial for governance because it has real-time data accessibility on what you are doing, what I am doing, what is your preference, what is my preference, where are you traveling from, where am I traveling from, to what point are you going, to what point am I going, how do our paths either collide or interoperate in some form, what do we do from this evening till tomorrow morning, all of that is tracked. Now the question is, if that data could be put in a particular place, that could be mined and that could be analyzed in terms of putting it in a format, so to speak, a machine-readable format, or in a format that a machine will understand it, then the machine could use that data to determine what should be done to make your tomorrow better. Because it has seen consistently that you leave your home, you go to your office, you are stuck in a particular traffic jam at a particular location. Anybody who is going from the airport to South Bengaluru will get stuck in Hebal. They will get stuck on JC Road. So these are all things which we know, we ignore, we go on, we creep, we say what are they doing, there is no vision in governance, why did they build this Hebal flyover, all of this, I'm sure all of us in somewhere in our minds have creeped about it. Look at Baswangudi, how beautiful it was, see it has gone down the tube, look at the traffic density, look at people have no civic sense, they are parking everywhere. That is because we are brought up that way to complain about people and lack of civic sense. Nobody looks at it from a perspective of saying that this data now is available in electronic format. Whose car parked where at what point of time is available because that phone is registering it. Now, have we used that data to collate and use a machine-readable format to determine how many parking spaces you need around Ramakrishna Mat at 6 o'clock in the evening to how many parking spaces you need to 6 o'clock in the morning? Or do you need parking spaces at all at 2 o'clock in the afternoon? Maybe you need 10 in 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but 200 parking spaces on an evening. But all based on a Hindu calendar, on a particular auspicious day, outside Bull Temple, you may need 2,000 cars to park. But on a particular non-auspicious day, you possibly don't need even 10 cars to park. Now that data is available. We don't use it. The government does not use it. But the private corporations are using it. It is the Googles of the world, it is the Geos of the world, it is the Facebooks of the world who are collating this big data and using artificial intelligence in the form of putting it in a machine readable format so that your lives could become easier, simpler, number one. Services which are being given to you can be coordinated and given to you in a manner that you like. You like a little more jaggery in your sambar as compared to me. Both of us are eating sambar. But if you get that tinge of jaggery in your sambar, you'll like it. But if I get a tinge of jaggery in my sambar, I will hate it. Now that distinction which my mother did, knowing that, my brother and I liked different kinds of tastes, that distinction what my mother did is being done today by the larger companies. Therefore, when you open your computer and you want to send an email on a Gmail platform, or when you open your computer to browse the net and go to, let's say, Google search, what you see on your computer is not what I see on the computer, if assuming I have also connected my computer at the very same time, from the very same location, to the very same platform that is Google. Now, therefore, there is a targeted scenario of what you need to see and what you would love to see being given to you. And therefore, you believe that Google is excellent because it is giving you what you want. And it is giving me something very different. But I believe it is excellent because I am getting what I want. But if Google gave me and you the same thing, we would have a dichotomy in terms of governance, saying that you will say, no, you are Congress, I will say, no, I am BJP. Both of us, when it comes to governance, why is that we all have different views? Why is that we don't have a uniformity of views on governance, saying that this government is perfect? It does not matter which party. If that government gave you what you want, you would have said, doesn't matter which party, but this government is actually doing a good job. Similarly, let us assume, I'm not a politician, but let me assume a left of center and a right of center human being. And let me understand a human being at the center. All of them are looking at governance. All of them are looking at the Prime Minister. All of them are looking at the Chief Minister or the Mayor or even your local corporator to see what is he doing for me. Now, assuming the Prime Minister, the Chief Minister, the Mayor and the local corporator had access to this big data, had the competence to actually control that data in a form and put it in a form that it is machine readable, and arrive at what you want vis-a-vis what I want, and have the capacity to give you what you want and give me what I want, irrespective of whichever political party he is, you would say he is good and I would say he is good. Now I ask myself, why is that not happening? If a Facebook can have so many people across the world with such cultural orientations being different, how a person looks at life in Latin America is so different from how a person looks at life in Baswangudi. Why Latin America and Baswangudi? How you look at life in Baswangudi is so different from how I look at life in Coles Park. How Cantonment looks at this city is different from how South Bangalore looks at this city. But when it comes to Google, why is that all of us look at it and say, wow, very good. Facebook, very good. Now TikTok is very good. There is one court which bans TikTok, saying TikTok is bad. The whole country is fighting with that court, saying, these judges don't understand it. TikTok is very good. That is simply because of two things. One, the Googles of the world have mastered the art of using technology to make sure that service delivery is done in a format of what the service recipient wants. Facebooks of the world have learned it, Geos of the world are learning it, etc., etc. So the private sector enterprise has learned to use artificial intelligence as is available, to use big data as is available, mine big data, format big data, and use it to make sure that you get what you want in terms of service delivery. After all, they are also in the manner of service delivery. Of course, they may be doing it for a price. For example, Google really does not charge you to provide you a Gmail access, but it monetizes it in some other form in terms of an advertisement coming to you. I like motor cars. Therefore, the most advertisements which I see when I open my computer is on motor cars. My daughter likes chocolates. Most advertisements she will see will be on chocolates. Why is that she gets a targeted advertisement on chocolate, whereas I get a targeted advertisement on motor cars? That is not the case when I read the Hindu newspaper or the Times of India newspaper. Same advertisement for everybody. So I will flip that page and not see it and go to the page that I want. But targeted delivery of services is what the private sector has achieved today. Unfortunately for us, the governments of today have not achieved it. Why? For one particular reason that the government still don't want to recognize. Talent. 2 decades ago or 3 decades ago, if somebody picked up a course of statistics and became a statistician, I don't know, is there a statistician in this audience? If there is, possibly it will be lovely. We don't. See, that's because nobody wants to become or nobody wanted to become a statistician. If they picked up a course of statistics and got a master's degree in statistics and became a statistician, they had hell finding a job. Nobody wanted to recruit a statistician. Some government department will recruit a statistician. There also you will have reservation, this, that, etc. Stand up, get 20 letters of Shifaris, and then finally get a job somewhere. And then within the department, you would be looked at as the worst character because what is your job? For example, in the political spectrum, you will win elections when you belong to a particular community, so you have to be given a ministerial post, but you are useless otherwise. What do? Make you Minister for Statistics. That is where statistics stood. 2 decades. Do you know today as we speak, what is the hottest job in the technology market the world over today? I'm not talking of India, I'm talking of the Silicon Valley, I'm talking of the Bay Area, I'm talking of Russia, I'm talking of the European Union. Do you know what is the hottest job? Data scientist. Do you know who is a data scientist? He's nothing but the statistician who's actually looking at data and putting it in a format that statistics is readable in a particular format. A data scientist today is that person who actually mines that entirety big data, puts it in a format that the machine can read it, and that data can be used and represented in a particular form where one sentence actually tells you the entire story. A statistician is nothing but a data scientist today. Why is that a data scientist job is the most sought after in the world today, whereas 2 decades earlier a statistician was considered to be a useless character? Unfortunately for us, our government still only hire statisticians and still consider statisticians to be the worst set of people. And the worst department with no funding is actually the information department. Karnataka Sarkara Varta Mattu Prachara Ilake. There is no Varta, there is no Prachara, there is nothing. There is just a department and 4 people sitting there. And one minister who has no portfolio becomes the minister for Varta Prachara Ilake. Even today, as we speak, on Infantry Road, we have a department of information. I don't know what information anybody has received in this room from the Department of Information of the Government of Karnataka. I have not received anything in my life. Possibly if somebody has, you should tell me, and you deserve an award because you got something. That is what we find in terms of lack of technology in governance. What is good governance? Good governance is nothing but the fact that I am imposed a duty to pay my taxes. I am imposed a duty in terms of saying what I should or should not do in my public interaction. Drive on the left side of the road, don't come cause nuisance, don't pollute. These are all a set of rules that we actually have to live in society, a larger social contract, so to speak. And the governance spectrum is such that it relates to you and provides you only what you need. And what you need to the minimum extent of maintaining a vibrant society. That's all it is. Therefore, an efficient methodology of service delivery to you is governance. And good governance is nothing but making sure that a positive service delivery occurs and there is no negativity being caused in terms of using the state machinery to divide or state machinery to harass, etc. That is good governance. If a Google can do it for you, I ask why? Google, what is Google? It's one company sitting somewhere, hiring a bunch of people in Mountain View and providing services the world over. Are you telling me that India with what, $500 billion as foreign exchange surplus today, it's not a poor country anymore, that India cannot do it for its people? If Google can do it for 3 billion people, India can't do it for 1.2 billion people? If a private company can do it for so many people, the mighty state cannot do it for its own citizens? The reason why it does not do it is not because it does not have data, not because it does not have talent, simply because of its outlook towards that data. I'll give you an example. Why is that Google is sought after today? Or Facebook is sought after? Any of these technology companies. Their data is in a machine-readable format and it is electronic format. The fact that Sajana Poovayya has been a user of Google services, it has profiled my data over the last 10 years. Every website I have gone to is kept available with them. Every article I have read on the internet is known to them. Therefore, they know whether I am left of center, right of center, what is my political philosophy, what is my sexual orientation, am I straight, am I not straight, am I gay, am I queer, whatever. That's known. The kind of websites I have gone to know. Am I a consumer of alcohol or a non-consumer of alcohol is known. Because have I read something about whiskey? Have I purchased a bottle of alcohol on the internet by using my credit card? Known. My health records, my health status is known. Who have I consulted? Have I gone to a medical app? Today there are applications on your phone. There is a medical app. There is an application to check your sugar. How many times have you checked your sugar? Oh, is it high, low, tracked and kept? Have I gone to a shrink? Have I actually got psychological treatment? Known. So that knows whether I am a little mad, not mad. Known. All of that is profiled and kept. And artificial intelligence is used to read that, make sure that it is profiled, and I am serviced in a particular format. Now let's look at the Government of India and the Government of Karnataka. Pretty much they have the same information. They know when I was born, they know where I was born, which hospital, because I was born in a government hospital. Most of my generation and your generation, we were all born in government hospital. We didn't have Cloud 9, Cloud 12, Cloud 13, birthing suites. Very interesting. My mother went to a Ramakrishna Mission Hospital, which was partly funded by the government, and I was born. And as happy as ever. But yes, they have that information. My birth certificate is available. I went past 10th standard with state board. They know that I have passed 10th standard. That information is available. I got my second PUC results from Karnataka second PUC. They have that. I went to the National Law School, got my degree, gold medal, whatever it is. That information is available with the Bar Council. It's available with the Government of India. I went abroad so many times. My passport has stamping. The government knows. I studied abroad because I got a student visa, education visa. I got a scholarship from the Government of Karnataka and the Government of UK. Both governments have my information. All of it is available. I came back and enrolled as a lawyer. I am fighting litigations. Oh, Bellandur tank, we are fighting the Government of Karnataka. They have my life history. Oh, he's fighting us. He's this thorn in my flesh. The environmentalists, you should make sure hit them. They have profiled information. They have it. If they have this information which Google has, I ask myself, why is the Government of Karnataka not using that information to make sure that their policy of governance vis-a-vis me is targeted to me in a particular format, such that instead of hating the Government of Karnataka, I will begin to love it. They don't do it not because they don't want to do it. They have good intentions. Let's assume that most Indians have good intentions and that's all we have. We have nothing more. But they don't do it because they cannot do it because the data that they have is not in a machine-readable format and electronic format. Government has more data than private companies, but the data that they have is in paper format. A paper format where the data birth certificate is available with the Department of Births and Deaths. That paper does not talk with the Education Department's paper which says I am 10th standard pass. Those two papers don't talk to each other, obviously. We've still not got technology where papers can talk to each other. And that 10th standard marks card does not speak to my law school marks card. That does not speak to my England scholarship card. That does not speak to my Bar Council registration. That does not speak to the airline tickets which I have saying how many times he has gone to Delhi. That does not speak to the driving license which is there with the transport department. That does not speak to the car registration certificate that's available in some RTO. All this data is available with the government. But all of them in silos, separate silos. All of them in legacy systems. Even assuming it is electronic, what is electronic and what is computerization in the government? Remove a typewriter and put in a computer to do the typewriter's job. And they say computerize agogide now. 100% computerized, sir. Oh, I see. What happened? All typewriters removed, all computers brought in. The same typist who is actually operating the typewriter, he is now typing on the computer and saying, "Idu sari illa sir, typing chanagi aagta illa." So you have computerized your systems. What are you doing? You have legacy systems. You have this data available with you, but you are unable, the data is not interoperating. The data is not talking to each other. In the process, you are unable, not able to give the kind of services you will. Whereas go back to Google. The data that Google have is all in electronic format and all of that data is speaking to each other. The fact that I have taken an Uber ride and I have paid for that Uber ride through a credit card, and that credit card is kept in a digital wallet, maybe on the cloud, or Google is providing me a payment gateway, which is GPA or whatever it is. Google knows that Sajana Poovayya has taken this particular car from his house and landed up at that particular bar at 7:30, and then he has got out of that bar or pub at 12:30 and gone back to his home. That means he's been drinking from 7:30 to 12:30. Therefore, the next time I open that website, nice Blender's Pride advertisement comes to me, saying that, yeah. Whereas Blender's Pride advertisement will never come to you, sir, because you have not done what I have done. That's the difference. Whereas the government of Karnataka is not bothered. It is more bothered about saying, how do I cancel license of Uber? The Uber fellows are coming and taking away all the local taxi operators. That is the problem of governance and the problem of the political spectrum in terms of appreciating data and understanding data. There is no dearth for computing technology today. There is no dearth for artificial intelligence development today. There are, for example, they say that there are trillions and trillions of pages. They just look at this. Let's forget half a terabyte of information on a phone. Even a small smartphone will have something like 16 GB of information, etc. A 16 GB of information, broadly speaking, is a few crores of pages of information, is a few thousands of hours of video information, is possibly a few tens of thousands of photographs. All of that saved will not be 16 GB. Because it will be in raw resolution format, it will be used. Lower pixel, lower storage. And what is the cost of storage? That half a terabyte, which I said 4 decades ago, was the entire storage capacity of the world for electronic data 4 decades ago. Today, a half a terabyte hard disk for storage costs $50. So when you get a computer in which they say, or a phone which says that you have half a terabyte of storage, that storage device on the phone would cost the phone manufacturer $50. That is all it costs. And leave alone that. In addition to that, you have something called the cloud, in which more data is being stored on the cloud. So you have handheld devices which have computing technology, storage capacity, and storage is cheap today. And you have cloud computing which is going on. And interoperate that and just see the potential that you have in terms of delivery, in terms of simple governance spectrum. Now let's take some live examples as to why you and I, we believe greatly that we live in a vibrant democracy, that we have a right. I'm sure all of us voted, and the ones who did not vote in this room really, should actually be apologizing to the system, because we anyway have the politicians that we get. At least by voting, we can turn up and say, at least, I've done my bit. I'm sure the politician will not do his bit. But if you don't vote at all, we at least will not have the right to criticize. The minute you vote for the next 5 years, you have a right to criticize at least, so we will criticize them. So from that perspective, we believe that we have voted, and therefore we are stakeholders in the governance. All these big words are told to us, and we feel very happy about it. Oh, look at Afghanistan, we are better. Look at Pakistan, we are better. Look at Bangladesh, we are better. Look at every other country, we are better. We have a say in our governance. We are a vibrant democracy. We therefore vote. We become stakeholders in terms of our lives. What to do? Society is eroding, but that's how it is. You see, population is our problem. Lack of education is our problem. Standard. I'm sure everybody has heard this. Let me give you the flip side of it. And if I tell you this, you will say I'm mad. We are not stakeholders in our governance spectrum, first. Second, our votes are useless. It is going nowhere. Those people in this room who have not gone and voted, good for you. You spent that morning possibly reading something and enriching yourself, or having a good masala dosa and then going back to sleep and feeling good. You enjoyed the day at least. We have limited number of days in this world. People like me who stood in that queue, rain, umbrella, etc., go vote, don't find your name. They'll say, Idu Poovayya alla sir, Poovayya antide sir. Then I have to explain to him saying that, that's your mistake, but I'm the voter. Finally, reluctantly, he'll let me vote. What is the point? You might say, no, this is horrible, why are you saying? Now, I will tell you why there is no point. I'm assuming most of you live in Baswangudi and the scenario, around the areas, right? There are one ways and two ways here. Bengaluru is ridden with one ways. Now, whether your road in front of your house should become a no parking zone or should become a parking zone, who did it? Somebody decides. Somebody says, suddenly this is one way. Or whether your road which takes you to your office is a one way or a two way, is decided by somebody. Who decides? Now, if you are a stakeholder in democracy, and technology indeed assisted you, you should have voted a person directly or indirectly who will take the decision of whether your road will become one way or two way, number one. Number two, he should have consulted with you before actually making that one way or two way, because it's your house and you are paying tax year on year. Now, let me tell you why the person you have voted for has no spectrum of stakeholding in this decision. I'll take a few examples and come to it. Whether your road must be one way, two way, somebody decides. We'll come to who later. Whether a commercial establishment must come next to your house in a residential colony, somebody decides. Whether a bar and restaurant must open in an area which is, across the road, there are 2 schools and then there is a bar and restaurant. Somebody decides. Whether a small shop which sells cigarettes must come up in your vicinity or not, somebody has decided and given a permission. Whether the KSRTC or BMTC bus must ply on your road or not, somebody has taken a decision. These are all, I am talking of governance and stakeholding, because the right to live in solitude, the right to have a wholesome environment, the right to have tranquility are all fundamental rights today under the Constitution. So you must, and the right to access your house and ingress and egress is a fundamental right. Freedom of movement is a fundamental right. Transport, you are paying taxes, you need to have public transport. So whether one bus must come to your area or 10 buses must come to your area, somebody is taking a decision. Whether your area should actually be connected to the rest of the state in terms of a KSRT bus, somebody is taking a decision. Whether a metro rail should come closer to your vicinity or not, somebody is taking a decision. Now let's pan it. This is why big data comes in. Let's pan who is taking these decisions and who are you voting for. Now whether your road must become one-way or two-way, decision is taken by the Bengaluru Traffic Police. Now the Commissioner of Traffic in Bengaluru Traffic Police, let us assume, because we need to put a face to the name, has taken a decision saying this road must become one-way because of traffic congestion. That Commissioner reports to the DG of Police, the DG and IG reports to the Home Minister. Home Minister is an MLA from North Karnataka. You have not voted for him. You will never vote for him. Your vote is in South Bangalore. That MLA from North Karnataka, who is today the Home Minister, takes a decision through his intermediaries down on whether your road should become a one-way or two-way, where he is not bothered about your vote, nor are you a stakeholder in his election. His stakeholding is happening somewhere in Athani or Bidar or God knows where. Now that man who is voting for him is not bothered on whether Baswangudi is becoming one-way or two-way. What are we talking of urban governance? What are we talking of governance in our doorstep? What are we talking of 3 tiers of governance, local self-governance? These are all great philosophical attributes that are being brainwashed to us right from high school. Now let's come to this restaurant. Vegetarian locality, non-vegetarian restaurant will start. Until you start fighting and throwing stones, it will not shut. Now why did they give permission? Who gives permission? Health department of BBMP gives permission, or the trade department in BBMP gives them a trading license. Who is the mayor? The mayor is somebody from, let us say, Rajarajeshwari Nagar ward. The mayor says, okay, give it. Who is your corporator? You have voted for somebody. Does that corporator have a say in the trading license that is being given in your area? No. His say is what? To sit in the council in BBMP and vote on a particular budgetary proposal of saying we want 9,000 crores, we want 12,000 crores, then government will say, no, I will reduce it to 9,000 crores. That fight is going on now in BBMP. No, 12,000 crores is twice the state budget of Sikkim. 2 times the state budget. 12,000 crores is the budget of BBMP. So you know the kind of money that is chasing opportunities here. But he's not a stakeholder. Now let's come on to a scenario of saying whether you should be put on the nodal map of transportation to the state. KSRTC. Whether KSRTC bus must ply through your location and go to the KSRTC bus stand or not, decision is taken by the transport minister. The transport minister need not necessarily be an MLA from your constituency. Transport minister can be from south of Bangalore taking a decision for North Karnataka, or transport minister can be from North Karnataka taking a decision for South Bangalore. So what are we talking that our vote has actually got a stake in urban governance? Let's forget rural governance. What are we talking of urban local governance? What are we talking of stakeholding? Your mayor today does not take a decision on whether there should be a fire tender near your house. He does not take a decision on whether how many police constables should be deputed to your locality. He does not take a decision on whether a particular restaurant should or should not come. He does not take a decision on whether your road should be one way or two ways. Whereas a mayor of New York takes each of those decisions. Because it is the mayor of New York who takes all decisions pertaining to that city. We have a governance spectrum where a mayor is only a ceremonial person who will wear his black robes and go to the airport to bring in dignitaries, put this huge board saying BBMP welcomes delegates for Aero Show. That delegate for Aero Show also had a spelling mistake. So that is what happens. So now you look at computing technology on the one side. Look at the data that is available in terms of how much parking you need, whether your road width must be bigger, what is the density of traffic on your road. All of that is available. And please see the stakeholders in governance who are taking decisions. Not only are they not using computing technology to provide you the services that you want, even the stakeholders taking the decision, even assuming computation technology was there, are people who have no consequence in terms of a decision that they will take for you. Because you can, for all you know, never vote for that person. In such a governance spectrum, and in a scenario where we are becoming a digital society, I personally believe that good governance can never be meted to us unless and until we can interoperate and marry the fact that we have information revolution going on. We have a digital society emerging. We have a computation technology which is growing year on year exponentially. And unless you marry it and map it to the governance spectrum in terms of who provides you what, you will really not have a scenario of good governance. We'll tolerate the governance that we have, but it will never be good. The last aspect that I will bring is from a contrarian perspective. That I believe that if the government really wants to do something, it is only a matter of legislation that they can do so. A Right to Information Act revolutionized the fact that you will today get an RTI application and you will get information. But I asked myself the question, why should it be that we have a Right to Information Act, but you should still take a whatever 20 rupees demand draft, then write it in a particular form, your application cannot be more than 20 words, then you should send it to the right department, otherwise that department writes back to you saying, mine is not the nodal department, then you file an appeal to the appellate authority, then the information commissioner of the state will issue a direction, then you get information. You don't need to do that. Simply because information is available in digital format, you must be in a scenario that you can access that digital format and get that information for a fee. Pretty much like on your phones today, you have apps. Almost all smartphones have apps. And what are these apps? You have an app for shopping. You have an app for browsing. You have an app for movies. Netflix has now become fairly. You have an app for singing songs. You have an app for downloading music. You have an app for medical attention. You have an app which tells you whether you have taken your medicines, not taken. All of them are apps. What are they? They are just an enabling platform on a technological database, and that enabling platform becomes the interface between you and the service provider. And that interface is so seamless that it becomes the power of here and now. You want it now, you will get it now. I ask myself the question, why can't the government simply become that app? Of course, I'm using it in very loose terms. Why shouldn't government also become that app which becomes the interface between what services has to be provided by the state to what the recipient wants? If you really have a Right to Information Act and the right to get that information, why is that you can't have a scenario where all state data that is available on a database, and there is an app available on an Android platform for an Android phone or an iOS platform for an iPhone where I will actually access the app and get information for a price. I'll swipe my card and make sure I'll pay the government. There is no problem about it. Now, therefore, unless you make the governance on a platform and a governance from a seamless interface perspective, you will not lead to good governance. Most important being that interoperability of data. I'll take one example, Bhumi. There are positives also of the government. Karnataka government brought the Bhumi project in terms of making sure that land records are digitized. And land records were indeed digitized. Today, something like 2.5 crore land records are available, digitized, and for the asking on the Bhumi application of government of Karnataka. There are about 3 crore land records that are available and accessible on the E-Dhar or there's another name, that E-Zameen is the portfolio of the Gujarat government. Now this is available. Land records are available. If land records are available, that means my neighboring plot, whether that neighboring plot is a civic amenity site, whether it is a residential site, whether it is a commercial site, is available. If that is available, when the BBMP gives a trade license in a residential area for a canteen to come up, or suddenly government takes a decision that your neighboring plot is empty, so Indira canteen will be put up there without consulting with you, you must be in a position to actually on that app to indicate a scenario that you have an objection to it, or pull out that information that this is a residential plot and you cannot be doing something like that for the asking. Why should you have a scenario of writing a petition as if the Maharaja is still ruling us? Petitioning system was when the kings ruled us. You make a big petition saying, Namaskara, my greetings, this, that, etc., send it. Then somebody takes it to the Maharaja. When he has the time, he looks at it. If he's a benevolent Maharaja, he'll look at it early. If he's a non-benevolent Maharaja, he'll throw it into the dustbin. Then you sit down and say, oh, I have got some information somewhere. All of that is archaic. If a Google said, you pay me money today and I will give you your information in 3 weeks, what would you do? Shut that app and go. That would be the end of Google. You are expecting a private enterprise to deal with you with the power of here and now then it is time for us as citizens of this country to deal with the government in the same way, where we need governance not at Vidhan Sauda, but where we need governance at our doorstep, where we need information here and now. When it comes to paying my taxes, I have to pay it here and now. Otherwise, you will impose a penalty of 18%, then issue notice upon me, make my life miserable. But when it comes to services, I have to sit down and wait for you to service me. These are the positive spectrums which we think should be used, or data should be used for governance. I'll end with the negative spectrum. Now there is a problem for this data as well. This big data which I said of, where is Sajana Poovayya going, what is he doing, all of that being available in a particular form and in a machine readable form for artificial intelligence to maneuver it and use, can actually be misused by the state more than used by the state. Unfortunately for us in our country, the states are attempting to misuse it more than use it and provide us services. I have not heard a single state government, a single municipal government, or even for that matter the national government till now, indicating that we will use big data and artificial intelligence to provide services to the citizens in a particular form, and therefore we will have a common application available for education. You have an education app. Like you have a health app and a music app by private players, why can't the state give you an education app, state give you a job platform for a job app, or give you a health app? If you believe that you are unwell, you should be in a position to get an appointment in Jaideva Institute of Cardiology on that app. If Tirupati Darshan can happen on an app, if a temple can get it done, you're telling me a hospital cannot do it? Now, they are not doing that. But what are they doing? The information that is available, for example, on the Aadhaar platform, and Aadhaar platform for we lawyers is the most important platform to fight about. And of course, Justice Puttaswamy from Karnataka made history when the 9-judge bench of the Supreme Court held that certain provisions of the Aadhaar enactment are unconstitutional because it erodes into the privacy of an individual, and privacy of an individual is a fundamental right in this country. Now, what are the states doing, or what are, for example, the police department wanting to do? The police department is wanting to make sure that the digital information that is available about a person is used to track, search and find a person. On the so-called basis that, we have to install law and order machinery, we have to bring the crooks to book, therefore we will use the digital information that is available to track a person and catch a thief. Very laudable when you hear it. But it's very dangerous, because we may voluntarily give our information to the Googles of the world. They may actually mine it, use it to provide us services. But be clear about one thing. Google may have all information about me. The fact that I will take a 9:30 flight today and land up in Delhi to attend a court hearing tomorrow morning is available with it. But Google does not have the power that when I land in Delhi, they will arrest me on something. That power is not available. The state missionary power is not available with the private entities. But if the state has that information, and I am inimically disposed of to this state, let us assume, I am fighting this state, and they know that I am going to the Supreme Court to fight against something and I will create hell for them, and they have information about what time I will land, where I will go, etc. on a real-time basis, the minute I step out of the aircraft in the Delhi airport, they will arrest me. When emergency occurred in this country, people who fought against it went underground, continued to fight, create this whole euphoria against emergency, get it clamped down, and then come out of the so-called being underground and come back to public life. Today, in a digital scenario where every action of yours is tracked, there is no underground left anymore. So today, if there is an emergency, assuming we have a despotic fellow coming up and ruling this country again, and he or she imposes emergency, the people who like us who will want to fight against it cannot go underground, because the data is available with the state. Real-time data is available with the state. And they can use it to profile and track an individual. I will end with one example and possibly take a few questions. Like India, or maybe one step better than India, the United States Constitution says, in the 4th Amendment, that you can't really erode into somebody's house and search and obtain data or obtain information from that house or office, etc., and use it to prosecute that person. So in India, if actually, let's assume I am a criminal, you are a criminal, something has happened, etc., and the state is investigating against us. If the police really wants to raid your house, or the income tax department wants to come and raid your house, or the police department believes that you are hiding some documents there which they have to get a warrant. Only with a warrant can they come and search your premises. Similarly, if they want to search your office, they have to get a warrant. The warrant procedure is to make sure that there is a safeguard that the state will not use its machinery against the citizen in a dramatic manner such that citizens' rights are trampled. So in the United States of America. Now traditionally what would happen, let's assume I am the criminal, I am dealing with drugs and I keep track of each of my drug dealing accounts. And the Narcotics and Psychotropics Department wants to catch me. So they will get a warrant, they'll go and search in my house, they might find something. They may not get a warrant for another premises. If they search that premises, I will say you can't use that evidence, etc., etc. For them, therefore, collecting the data, there were checks and balances and safeguards against citizens' rights being eroded. Today, the only thing that they can do without really any warrant is catch hold of me first, arrest me. After arresting, they can of course do a physical search of my body and find 3 sheets of paper in which I have written that, okay, today I must send 1 kg of drug to so-and-so. That's all they will find. That much they can do. Now, beyond that, to go find more information, they have to go and get a warrant. But that is not what they will do. They will first catch hold of me and pick up my phone. Now, my phone has information over the last 1 year of what SMSs I have sent on saying deliver it here, deliver it there. How many people have I called? The same man, how many times have I called? How many more information are available? Collate it for the last 6 months. You will get a truckload of information on what my tradings are, what I did, where I went, how much I have sold, what money I have got. Everything is available on my phone. Therefore, the question was that if you have to go into somebody's house and get a truckload of information about that person to prosecute the person, you need a warrant. But to pick up that man's telephone and use that telephone and collect all the information, you don't need a warrant. Today, this is not a phone, and let me be very clear about it. We believe it is a phone. I'll take 30 seconds to explain why it is not a phone. All of us have smartphones, all of us use it. Now, please look at it differently and please walk this path with me. This is a camera also on which you can make a call. This is a video camera also on which you can make a call. This is a music player, a 2-in-1, which you can record and play, also on which you can make a call. This is a book on which I can read my articles, also on which you can make a call. This is my bank on which I can pay and receive money, also on which I can make a call. This is my health record and medical application because it tells me what medicine I should be taking, also on which I can make a call. This is my family album with my loved ones and near and dear ones and the not so near and dear ones also in that album, also on which I can make a call. This is my Rolodex of all my contacts that I have, all their addresses and all my messages to them, also on which I can make a call. This is not a phone. This is actually a truckload of information about Sajana Poovayya, kept in a format which is very, in a disciplined manner coded, in a disciplined manner kept in different applications, which can be retrieved immediately on a touch of a button. This is my house. This is my life. This is my alter ego. This is my perception. This is my reality. And therefore, if you should actually snatch this phone from me and profile this phone to find information, you need a warrant. Unfortunately for us, the Supreme Court of India has not said that still. But the United States Supreme Court has said it. The US Supreme Court in Riley, etc., and then of course went on to Jones. In all those decisions, the US Supreme Court said that if you arrest a person, you can pat him down and pat search a person to figure out what he has in his pocket. You don't need a warrant for it. But anything beyond that, for you to actually look at his phone and profile information from his phone, you need a warrant from a court. That is the power of computing. Today, our expectations, our dreams, our aspirations, our capacities, our weaknesses, all of it is stored on electronic format in this. Our prejudices are stored, whether I am a Congress supporter, BJP supporter, left-wing supporter, right-wing, it's stored. Whether I am looking at Modi app or Rahul app or no app, it's seen. Whether I am a Shiv Sena supporter, whether, they said you can like Bal Thackeray, you can hate Bal Thackeray, but you cannot ignore Bal Thackeray. And that is similar what has happened on our phone today. You may like the technology, you may hate the technology, but you cannot ignore technology. And law, unfortunately, is not protecting us from it. We believe that we have protection of the law, that the cops can't enter into your house. Your house is your castle. They can't come after dark and pick up information from your house. They don't need to. They just need to get your phone. Or not even your phone. They just need to get the service provider of your phone. Threaten him and get information from him. The US Supreme Court has said, to get information from cell sites, that is the towers, on how many towers your cell phone has accessed, you need a warrant from a magistrate. In India, you don't. First thing the cops do is saying, oh, we are CID, we have found him in this tower, he was calling in that tower, catch hold of him. What are we talking of citizens' rights? When we talk of governance on a perspective, one is governance which is a front-ended governance which is towards a citizen, on services to a citizen. That's one aspect of governance. But the second, even more important, or possibly very important aspect of governance is protecting the rights of the citizen. Forget the state, let them not give me water, let them not give me road, I will build my own road, I will have my own borewell, I will have my own generator for power, I'll have my own security guards, I don't need police. We may have our own comfort zones built. We may survive without governance. We may survive without government. But if the state machinery starts eroding into our rights, who's going to protect us? So one aspect of good governance also is protection of the rights of a citizen. Unfortunately, we are failing on two counts. We are failing on using technology to provide services to a citizen. We have miserably failed. But we are also failing in stopping the misuse of technology to actually get to the citizen and suppress the citizen. Today, the state will have information on how many members are there in a particular WhatsApp group against Siddaramaiah, or how many members are in a WhatsApp group in favor of Kumaraswamy. The state intelligence department will have the app before you do. So what are we talking of democracy? Democracy will thrive only when the relationship between the citizen and the state is such that the citizen is not scared to express himself, that there is debate, that there is fights, that there is a scenario where we can stand and protest. If that whole expression, that freedom of speech and expression that I have to protest against the state, if that is taken away from me, there is nothing left in democracy. Now that will be taken away from me if technology is misused by the state rather than used to give me services. If it is misused to take away my freedoms, that becomes a problem. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that today we are in a cusp where technology can be misused to suppress the citizen and take away his right. At the same time, technology is not being used to provide the services to the citizen. Therefore, if we don't therefore look at it from that perspective and raise that debate and political discourse and a public discourse to take it to that level, to ask for those rights to be enshrined, we will actually erode ourselves into a hegemony where somebody who is inimically disposed of getting into power would necessarily mean suppressing everybody. I'll end with one example. We have heard and read, and none of us have seen it because we belong to a different generation and different region, about the Holocaust in Germany, as to how Jews were identified, how their houses were marked as house. They would actually put a cross on each door and in the night go and pick them up and send them to concentration camps. That is nothing but profiling. But then there was no technology to do electronic surveillance and profiling. They had to do physical surveillance and profiling. So that Jew could run away the previous night and somehow save himself or save herself and still manage. But if you have electronic profiling, the data that is available is enough to profile, for example, in, let us say, Jayanagar constituency or BTM constituency or Padmanabh Nagar constituency, where are the Muslim households? Where are the Hindu households? Where are the Brahmin households? Where are the Kuruba households? Can all be profiled today on technology. Because the information is available. You have an Aadhaar connection card you have taken, you have given your address. When you have asked for a caste certificate to actually get a job, you have given your caste. In your census, you had caste-based census happening. People fought against it. Many didn't understand why are you fighting against it. So what if they are profiling on caste? Please understand, profiling on caste is okay, but that information is available with the state. So if the state could then use that information to profile a particular area, to target a particular area at times of trouble, where do you go? Who's going to protect you? The only protector for you can be technology itself. And the only safeguard against misuse of technology is law, is legislation. India, unfortunately, till now, does not have a data protection legislation in place in terms of what data can the government collect from you, what data can they use, why should they have 1 billion people having Aadhaar cards and that 1 billion information of each person available at a central repository in Delhi? Why should it be? What is the need? Yes, you may have Aadhaar cards for everybody, but that information must be kept. Bangalore information about Bangalore residents must be kept in Bangalore alone. Why should it go to Delhi? If services are being provided in Bangalore, it will be vetted in Bangalore and provided in Bangalore. But that's not the case. There is a central database available for Aadhaar. Your details, my details, everybody's detail is available at that central database. Who controls that central database? The state. Who controls the state? The political party in power. So if they really want to misuse it, and assuming history repeats itself, assuming 10 years down the line there is a situation of a Holocaust kind of a thing in India where there is profiling done to eradicate a particular group, this information is available at the click of a button. What is the safeguard? Therefore, when we talk of good governance, it starts from first protecting and safeguarding the citizen from the misuse of state machinery, and then goes to using state machinery to provide them services. And therefore, I end by saying, on both these counts, we are at the cusp of change. We are the people who can initiate that change. We are not reading it as history. We are also not reading it as science fiction for the future. This is real. The fact that your database is available on your phone is real. And therefore, when we are in the cusp of this scenario, if we don't bring our social dialogue up to that level, if we don't build a political dialogue at that level, if we don't build a so-called intelligentsia or the informed society talking about it, and if institutes such as this don't really raise that issue, I believe that we will be failing from a perspective, and it will be too late when the trouble starts for us to then cry, saying technology has now become the biggest inhibitor of free speech in this country. On that note, thank you very much. I'm sorry if I've bored you a little on this. I'm happy to take questions if there is anything at all. Thank you. It is a scenario of failure to act. Today, in today's information revolution scenario, I don't think there is lack of information about what people do. Information is available. There are only lack of two things. Lack of intent to use that information for a particular result. And second, sometimes, I'm not making any allegation against any government, sometimes it is also a scenario of being complicit in it or being party to it in terms of connivance to turn up and say, I will permit somebody to do it. Therefore, in today's information revolution, I don't think you have a scenario of lack of data sets. You have that data. The scenario is lack of intent to act on it. Therefore, when some government says that, no, we did not know, that's a white lie. ಅದು ಶುದ್ಧ ಸುಳ್ಳು ಅಂತ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ನೋಕ್ಕಾಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಗೊತ್ತಿತ್ತು, ನಾವೇನು ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ನೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗಷ್ಟು ಹೃದಯ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ವಲ್ಲ ಒಪ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕ್ಕೆ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವೇರ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್. Of course. Operator will collect information. They will do everything that is available within their power so long as it is not prohibited by the law. That is the essence of capitalism. The essence of capitalism is what? That I will use my opportunity and my power of business such that I will make as much profits as I can, and I will do everything that is not prohibited in the law to make sure that I profit. Therefore, the only way you can regulate the fact that data from this country will not flow to another foreign land and will not be processed in that foreign land and will not be stored in that foreign land is by bringing a data protection legislation which requires data localization. That is what is the keyword. If it is Indian data, Indian profiling, it must be actually localized. And not just localized only within the country. India is a large country. Data belonging to Patna residents must be localized in Patna. Why should Patna residents' data come to Bangalore? Why should Bangalore residents' data go to Delhi? Why should somebody sitting in Delhi have control over the entire data of Bangalore residents in terms of their preferences, what they are doing, where they are going? Why should it go somewhere? Data should be used to provide you services. Data should be used for good governance. Governance happens here at my doorstep. I am not looking at good governance in Patna. If I am not looking at good governance in Patna, I am looking at good governance in Baswangudi. I believe that technology is sufficient today that Baswangudi data must reside in Baswangudi. That is data localization. We need legislation for it. On the contrary, we don't want to bring those legislations. We want to bring only reservation legislation, non-reservation legislation. Somebody is fighting for something, therefore give special status. Whether Lingayat is religion, not religion, on that I want to bring legislation. But on data protection, I don't want to. That is the fate of governance.
Government is okay, sir. Government is
Sorry.
If I am out of station, if it is available, if that data is available, some dacoit will...
This is the perception of looking at the glass half full or half empty, or the door is half closed or half open. I'll give you the positive indicator of this. Today, we are only on the internet of information. We are still not thoroughly inroaded into the internet of things. Internet of things is the next stage where not just people will communicate to each other on the internet, but things will communicate. That is, your house will communicate with the central police station in Bangalore on whether your house is occupied or not occupied. That is internet of things. It is ushering in. That is the web 3.0 scenario. We are at web 2.0 today. In an internet of things scenario, the state should have information on whether a particular locality is policed, not policed. How many police people are today, as of now, on the beat police scenario in your street should be known on the flick of a button to the central police agency, which is not available. If a beat police actually leaves the police station to say, I will go on a beat to a particular area and does not go, it's not available. Therefore, the information is not that your public information must be put in public domain for a dacoit. That's not what we are asking. We are saying that the data that is anyway available, when you leave your house with your phone, sir, your phone company knows that you have left your house. Let's be clear about it. It's not that in the future, today they know that you are not in your house. I am assuming you are keeping your phone in your pocket today. Therefore, your phone service provider knows that you are today now sitting in Gokhale Institute of Public Affairs and you are not in your house. It will also know if your missus has a phone and she has gone to the market, that she has gone to the market and there is nobody in the house. The question is, will that information be misused by some dacoit to come in, or will the state use that information such to ensure that this, because of a particular function, the entire locality has moved away, therefore increase policing there. But because of something else, there is problem in some other area, increase policing there. Rational allocation of limited resources. We have only so many policemen. Why should those policemen, in Nagarbavi there is no trouble today, why should 30 policemen be in Nagarbavi? But in Alsur there is trouble today, but there are only 2 policemen who are getting beaten up by the mob. Why is that we can't move those 30 policemen instead of Nagarbavi to Alsur immediately? That is the power of data. If you have the data script with you, it will automatically depute. Therefore, from that perspective, I believe data mining and data analytics is the key. Therefore, the statistician we spoke of, and today who is actually, quote unquote, the data miner and the data engineer, they are the ones who will actually usher in scenario, provided we have good intent. Thank you very much.
Just a couple of announcements. ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ನಂತರ ಸಿಹಿ ವಿತರಣೆ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆ an operator was a social celebrity because he was the treasure house of all information pertaining to the region. A crucial point made by Mr. Poovayya was that law followed technological development. It cannot be denied that information technology has caused disruption in public life and legal oversight has become necessary. A major feature of today's technology is real-time connectivity across the world. There has been a world of change in connectivity. As recently as in 1990s, as Mr. Poovayya said, the internet connectivity covered just 2.3 million people in the world. Now the coverage is of the order of 3 billion. Another significant facet is that you are yourself a generator of information. Big data, mechanically accessible, is inevitable for determining the scale and manner of services needed. This tool is apolitical. The tool delivers what the service user requires. What has now been achieved is targeted delivery. Today, data scientist's job is the most crucial all over the world. Unlike in earlier days when the statistician was a neglected commodity. The governance spectrum delivers only what the user needs. Almost every bit of information is available, but the Karnataka government hardly uses even a small part of it. Accessibility is crucial. This is the underbelly of governance. For instance, who decides whether a bar can be allowed in your neighborhood? As Mr. Poovayya explained, you are the stakeholder and is entitled to participate in decision making. This may influence voting too. This is where data science can help meaningfully. This could make government functionaries more responsible. Ideally, for instance, even the Right to Information Act ought to be irrelevant, since all information is lying there, totally seamless. Obviously, we should find ways of controlling misuse, as he demonstrated through illustrations. For a revenue document, why do you need to petition the government? You need governance at your doorstep. There would be apps for a whole lot of daily needs. Citizens' rights need to be protected. This is an area where a lot of work yet needs to be done. Law is yet to keep pace with the state and administrative labyrinth, as Mr. Poovayya explained. We have listened to a most enjoyable and educative talk about the crucial subject of information technology. On behalf of all of you, I extend to Mr. Sajana Poovayya our heartfelt vote of thanks.